Hello there folks, and welcome back to the second part of the Revell Mandalorian Razor Crest build series. In the previous video we took a look at the kit, got all the bodywork all prepped and painted along with the engines, and we're going to start off this video by getting the rest of the exterior parts in paint. So that's the landing gear and weapons. So I'm going to give everything some coats of the UMP black and gloss black primers. Get the gloss black primer down and get a nice glossy finish to all the parts, because they are all going to be metallics, and having a black gloss base really helps give the metallic colours a more realistic look. So I will go and get the airbrush loaded up and we will get started. Okay, everything is primed and ready for paint now. We've got the colours out that I'm going to be using, and as you can see here on this gun, we've got a nice shiny finish from the gloss black primer ready for the metallics. And the paints that I will be using here, we've got a couple of Alclads and a couple of Mr. Colour paints. We have got the Mr. Colour Super Stainless 2, which is what the main colour of the body was. I've also got the Alclad Dull Aluminium for some of the duller, flatter parts. Also got Alclad Magnesium and the Mr. Colour Super Metallic Chrome. So I will just be jumping between these, using them in various different areas on the landing gear and weapons. So I will go and get everything ready again for paint now that the primer is dry. Okay, so just a really quick time lapse there of me spraying. We've got everything in colour, and just to show you the gun here, I decided to paint the front half in the magnesium and then the main body of the gun in the stainless steel, and it just gives a nice kind of contrast between the two colours. And on the ship, the gun, that front section of the gun is actually a darker colour. So next up, I've got a little bit more painting to do on the body, some masking and stuff like that, so we'll take a wee look at that now. So as you can see here, I have already masked off the portion of the bodywork that needs the second colour. So as you can see in this recessed part where the landing gear comes out, that should be a different colour from the rest of the body, and also where the landing gear comes out on the side of the body has to be the same colour. So we'll take a wee look at the instructions just now. I'll get the colours out and we'll see what we have to do. I believe that it is Revell 365 and Revell 350, and it has to be mixed 50-50. It's the patina green silk matte and the Lufthansa blue silk matte. Now unfortunately I don't use the Revell colours, it's mostly Tamiya, Mr. Colour that I use. So the closest match that I've got is the flat blue XF8 and the deep green. So I will be mixing the two of them together. Have to excuse the bottle, had a wee leakage there, and I've got dull aluminium on the side of the green. So I'll be mixing these two 50-50 and spraying it onto those couple of recessed parts. So I've mixed the two colours together, and it's kind of like a dull turquoisey teal colour, which looks about right. I think if I was using the Revell colours it would be obviously the exact match, but it's pretty close to other pictures and stuff that I've seen of the model. So this kind of dull, almost khaki, blue, green, kind of strange colour. But I've mixed up probably about 6mm there. There's 3mm of each colour. I've still to add the thinners, but I'll be using the UMP thinners, which you mix with the Tamiya paints 50-50. So 6mm of paint, 6mm of thinners, and then we'll airbrush it on. I've mixed a bit too much because I need some for the interior too, and it's better to mix, when you're mixing paints, it's better to mix too much than not enough, and then trying to mix it again and match the paint that you'd previously mixed. So yeah, I'll get all this thinned up and into the airbrush, and we'll get these wee parts sprayed. I don't know if you hear me so well with the noise of the compressor and my spray booth running, so I might do a voiceover in this, so we'll see how it sounds. So I've just masked off this area. These areas on the side, they're going to be hidden by another part that goes over, so I don't really need to worry too much about masking these off. I just need to be careful I don't get any overspray onto the parts that will be exposed. So here we go. Just really light, very light coat so that you don't get any bleeds under the masking tape. When you're working with stuff that's masked off, it is best. You should be doing light coats anyway, but the lighter the coats, the less chance you're going to have anything bleeding under the tape and ruining your masking job. Right, so that's just one coat on. Pretty good coverage already, but I'm going to let that dry for maybe 5-10 minutes and then I'll do another coat. But yeah, I actually put a coat of clear over the whole bodywork, which I forgot to film. So this has all got a coat of clear on it. Mr. Hobby levelling thinners mixed with Mr. Hobby Super Clear. I didn't go crazy with it. Usually in my car builds I'll do like really heavy coats and stuff to get a nice like glossy shine. This was more for protecting the decals and protecting the paint when I go to do my weathering. So it's not like super shiny, but it still managed to retain the metallic look of the stainless steel paint, which I think it's done really well. But yeah, I'll go and get another couple of coats on these and paint up all the other exterior parts. There's a couple of flaps and stuff like that that need to be painted up, like on the back side. So I'll get them all painted up, and then when we come back we're going to start assembling the landing gear. Okay, so the recessed parts are painted in that kind of green colour, and we're ready to start assembling some of the landing gear and the exterior parts. So for this I'll be using the Ammo MIG extra thin cement. Picked this up in the local hobby shop because they'd run out of Tamiya extra thin, so I thought I'd give it a try. Took a bit of getting used to it. It's not as strong as the extra thin I've found, but it still does a decent job. Takes a little bit longer to set, but yeah, still decent paint, decent glue, sorry, and the brush on it's like super thin and long compared to the Tamiya one, so it's kind of good for getting into little awkward spots. You can just kind of dab it in and the glue will run into some of the awkwarder places. So this is the front landing gear here. It's only in two parts, and you've just got the main kind of leg there, and it glues onto the foot at the bottom. So just giving it a little coat with the extra thin, and just placing it the leg of the landing gear on and letting it dry. Now you have to really pay attention with the landing gear as some of the parts that's different for each side. So you just have to do a bit of test fitting and make sure, pay close attention to your instructions and make sure that you're not putting the wrong part in the wrong place, because it's quite easy to get them mixed up. So I just have to say that the fit and finish of the kit is actually really good. I've only ever built Revell car kits and they can be a bit hit and miss, but this kit has been really enjoyable to work on. There's been no major issues other than the gap that was on the wings. Everything's fitting together really nicely. No real issues. It's just a really nice kit. There is a few sink marks on the wings and the body that I kind of wish I'd perhaps filled in, did a bit of work on. They weren't as noticeable until they were in paint, but it's nothing really major. It's so only really noticeable if you look at it in a certain light or whatever. But other than that, it's a really great kit. But like I said before, you have to really pay attention to what side is what with these landing gears. The parts will both fit on either side, but then when you put it together it doesn't sit properly, so you have to really make sure that you're paying attention to the instructions, getting everything in the right place, and yeah, you won't have any problems. But yeah, I'll speed things up a little bit here and we'll pick it up once all these bits of landing gear are all put together. Right, so we're ready to make a start on all the interior parts. Everything I've already primed in UMP flat black primer. I've also painted a couple of parts using the colours that I was using on the exterior, so I've got that mixed green, if you remember from earlier in the video. There was a couple of parts that needed to be painted in that, so I've painted them too. A couple of parts that are done in silver as well. So the rest of everything's primed in the UMP black and ready to be painted. Now, the interior parts, a lot of them, if in the colour call out on the instruction manual, you've got the letter J here, and a lot of the parts in the interior are painted in this colour, and it's a mix of black silk matte and dark grey silk matte. So it's like a super dark grey, but it's almost the same colour as the UMP black primer. So I was actually thinking of leaving everything painted in that black primer because it's really close to the colour that I'm having to mix, then masking everything off and painting the different colours. Now, some of the parts I'll be able to mask off and paint separately with the airbrush. Some of them are quite small and I'm probably going to have to hand paint them. So I'm going to get everything masked that I need to get masked. So like the tops here on the interior roof. So I've got these couple of parts there that need to be painted. I'll mask them off. The sort of larger sections on the walls. This centre section on the floor has to be painted a different colour too. There's a couple of bits and pieces that I'm going to mask and paint, and the rest I'm going to do by hand. So I'll get everything masked up and we'll take a wee look at what's next. Right, so everything's masked off, ready for paint again, and that took way longer than I wanted it to. So we've got all the interior parts masked off for the larger sections that I'm going to be airbrushing, and everything else is going to be hand painted just because of the size of the parts that need painted. So I'll take you out to the spray booth and we will get painting. Right, so we're out at the spray booth and we're going to start off by painting everything in the letter O, which is on the colour call out sheet, which is a mixture of blue and black. So there's a few kind of interior pieces, it's all the kind of gangway parts, the floors on the doors and stuff like that. So I'll get them painted, and I'll just do a quick little time lapse of me just spraying everything, and then we will come back later once it's all painted. Right, so all the masking tape is off. Decided to get my light out because I noticed that you couldn't see very well the sort of differences in colour. So we've got the floor of the cockpit there masked, and on the back side these little pods on the top of the roof. Also got the floor of the ship as well with this dark blue. Same dark blue on the gangways into the ship, and we've got the walls here too with a couple of different shades of green. So the next stage is doing some brush painting on these parts, picking out some of the details, the little ladders there. There's some different bits and bobs on the walls and stuff, so I'll be getting those brush painted next. And I've actually got this section of the cockpit to the controls, so I need to paint this up as well, and there's various decals to get added into that. And speaking of decals, we have got a little decal here that has to go onto the storage area where he keeps the bad guys after he's frozen them in carbonite. So it has to just sit on top of this bed portion here. And if you watch the previous video, you know that I did the decal solutions in the wrong order. So I'm going to show you here how to do it properly. So that just has to fit over the top there. So we'll start off just dipping it in the water as per usual, leaving that for a little second to the decal comes off the backing paper. So soaked in the water now and it's ready to come off. So just going to place it on and get that in the right spot. Slide the paper out the way. Just get it positioned into the right place here. So just use the tweezers just to get it in place. It's quite a footery little decal. The red parts at the side, they have to line up with, there's raised sections on the bed. So you just need to make sure that those are lined up properly so that we can work the decal into place. So just use a cotton bud, get it pressed, get it in, get it any water out from underneath. Just roll the decal, use the cotton bud, roll it up, back and forward. Just try and press it down as best you can for now. But there's quite a lot of clear, you can see with the light shining on it there. So we're going to just start off with the normal UMP solution and brush it on just over the whole decal, working it in and making sure everything's got a coating of the decal solution. So I'll we'll leave that now for maybe 10 minutes or so and see what it looks like. Right, so it's had 10 minutes there, and we are just going to go back very carefully and roll the cotton bud. You don't want to drag it because it can catch on the decal and give you problems. It'll pull the decal away and then you'll struggle to reposition it and get it back in the same place. So you're just going to gently roll, pushing the decal down into place. The normal stuff has softened it slightly, but because this is quite a tricky one, we're going to take it up to the strong. And just the same again, just going to get it, brush it on, and that's going to help soften the decal even more. I picked this decal because it's probably one of the trickier ones to get it to bed down properly. So we'll leave this again for 10 minutes and come back, and here it is 10 minutes later. And as you can see, it has softened it a bit, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it up to the extra strong because those recesses are quite tricky. So I won't be working it in with the cotton bud just here. I'm going to get the extra strong stuff out and give it a little coating of that. Right, so got the extra strong here, and we will just brush that over and leave it for a few minutes again. Just getting right into those recess sections. Right, so I'll give that another couple of minutes and we'll come back and see how it looks. Right, so I've left it a few minutes and you can see it's starting to bed down into those recesses. Just needs a little bit of work with a cotton bud and maybe another application, but I'll just give it a wee press down with the cotton bud and try and work it into those creases. It's looking much better now that the solutions had time to work and I've worked it in there. There's a couple of little tiny spots that are going to require a little bit more solution, I think. So one more application of that and then I think that should do it. So I'll put this on, give it a few minutes again, and I'll take a little look in a second. Right, so that's the final application. It's just a little spot in here that needs pressed in. As you can see, the solutions have done a really great job of getting the decal to conform to those tricky recessed parts. There's quite a lot of carrier film on that decal and it's really done a great job of getting it to melt down into those recessed sections and it looks great. Right, so that's all the interior parts all painted and ready to be assembled. Got the little cockpit there, and you can see all the decals where the buttons and switches and stuff are. Also the bed at the back there, you can see how that decals thingy down nicely into that, settled down nicely. Yeah, so all this stuff is ready to be assembled. The next step is going to be the panel lining and weathering on the bodywork, so that will be coming up next. So I'll get that done first before we do any final assembly. There is one little thing I need to check, which is the clear parts. I've read a couple of people saying that the clear parts are a bit tricky. They need a little bit of work to get them to fit. So that'll be the next step, and then onto the weathering. So I think we'll wrap this video up here where we are right now, and in the next part we'll make a start on the panel lining, clear parts, etc. So yeah, thanks for watching the video, guys, if you've made it this far. Really enjoying this build, and I will see you in the next one really soon. Remember to check out Ultimate Modelling Products on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Check out their stuff, it's really good stuff. So yep, I'll see you in the next one really soon. Cheers, bye.